Every year, all kinds of crazy things wash up on beaches all over the world. In this video, I'll be sharing with you 3 of the strangest and most out-of-the-ordinary things that have ever been discovered on the shores. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for another video. If you're one of my 32 subscribers, I really appreciate your support. If you're a first timer here, welcome. My name's Derek and I've always loved crazy, strange, and bizarre stories that are true. Those are the stories you can expect to hear on my channel every Tuesday and Friday. To make sure you don't miss any, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'd love to have you. Okay, you're here for strange things that have been discovered on the beach, so let's jump into the first one. When you're walking along the beach, it's very common to see pieces of driftwood. It's not so common to see driftwood that's longer than an airplane. In 2010, a massive piece of driftwood was discovered in the state of Washington off the northwest coast. Philip Lockman and his daughter Amanda were walking along the shore, where there was a large amount of driftwood of all shapes and sizes. They came across one incredibly large piece of driftwood that stuck out like a sore thumb. They knew they had to get a picture of it, so Philip told his daughter to go stand next to it for a size reference of just how big it actually was. Amanda is 6 feet tall, and as you can see in the picture, the driftwood makes her look almost non-existent. When driftwood is that big, it's actually called a drift log. The log was never measured, but it was estimated the diameter was between 5 and 10 feet, and that it was over 100 feet long. It's not very uncommon to find trees like this that are as tall as people when they're laying on their side, especially in the Pacific Northwest, where some of the world's biggest and largest trees are found. So how could something of that size end up washing up on the shore? The Northwest coast can get some really big storms that cause the rivers in the forests to overflow and flood. Large trees that are on the edge of the forest can then topple over into the ocean below. From there, strong winds and high tides work together to bring these amazingly big drift logs to the shore. Even with this explanation, it's amazing to think of the power Mother Nature has to be able to move something so monstrous. Have you ever been alone on the beach only to feel that you're being watched? A beachcomber in 2012 may have when he discovered something really creepy and bizarre. He was on Florida's Pompano Beach when he noticed something strange. As he got closer to it, he realized it was a giant eyeball. At first, he didn't know if it was real or fake. It looked real, but it was so strange to randomly find it there that he thought it might be some kind of a joke. As he looked at it closer, he saw that it was bleeding and that it looked really fresh. He put it in a plastic bag, took it home with him, and then gave it to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. They took the eyeball, which was about the size of a softball, and put it on ice before sending it to the Fish and Wildlife Research Institute. At the institute, they were going to do genetic testing to solve the mystery of who the eye belonged to. Before the results were discovered, people were making guesses and trying to come up with their own conclusions. Some thought it was from a giant squid, while others thought it was more likely from a whale or a large fish. A lot of marine biologists thought it was a squid eye. They said that squid have eyes that are set in soft tissues, so it would be easier for an eye to dislodge, whereas other ocean life with eyes that big have eyes that are set in hard tissues, and it would be a lot more difficult for an eye to pop out. Some researchers noted what looked like bones around the eye and said that that would mean that it wasn't from a squid, but would more likely be from a giant fish. But what if it wasn't from any of these sea animals? What if it was from an undiscovered creature that was possibly a cyclops? When the tests were completed, it was believed that the eye came from a swordfish. I know, like you, I was hoping it was going to end up being from a bizarre new creature. The conclusion was made when taking into account the color of the eye, how big it was, how it was structured, and also that it had hard bone around it. Swordfish can exceed 1,000 pounds and are common marine life in the South Florida area where the eye was discovered. To answer the question of how the eyeball ended up in the way it was discovered, researchers believe a fisherman caught the swordfish and cut the eyeball out while he was gutting it. Around the eyeball, you can also see fairly straight cuts, which gives credibility to the theory that the eye was removed intentionally and not by accident. Still a crazy, creepy, and bizarre find. If you're fascinated by strange and mysterious creatures, you're going to be interested in this next story. It definitely seems like something out of a horror movie. Back in the summer of 2008, Jenna and a couple of her friends decided to head to the beach. They were living in New York, so they went to the beach that was at Ditch Plains. As they were enjoying their walk on the beach on a beautiful summer day, they came across something that stopped them dead in their tracks and had them in complete disbelief. There was a strange creature laying there that looked like it was dead. They couldn't make out what kind of animal it might be or where it might have come from. They quickly ruled out the idea of it being any breed of dog or cat because it didn't have the same size or characteristics. It also had a beak instead of any sort of a snout. Still in complete awe of what they had just stumbled upon, Jenna pulled out her camera and snapped a picture of the creature. As expected, the photograph quickly spread around the internet and went viral. Of course, a lot of people thought it was a complete hoax. People were traveling to the beach from long distances to see it with their own eyes. The issue was the creature's carcass was nowhere to be found. It seemed to have disappeared, and people didn't know if it really had been a hoax or if the carcass had been swept back into the water or decayed. However, there were some other locals besides the three young women that said they had seen the carcass before it disappeared. From their witness, they said it was bigger than a cat and that it had bindings around its legs. So now, without a carcass to study and perform any tests on, experts were left with just a photograph to try and solve the mystery of what this creature actually was. Was it a common animal with some kind of deformity? Was it a new species of animal? Whatever it was given the nickname the Montauk Monster. Some people thought that it may have been the result of a lab experiment from the Plum Island Animal Disease Center. This facility is very close to where the creature was discovered and is very secretive with top security. People began to wonder if maybe there was some kind of hybrid animal that had been created at the island facility and then somehow escaped. Others tried to come up with a more reasonable explanation, but still found it hard to explain. Some experts came to the conclusion that it was a raccoon with its upper jaw missing. Others thought that it might be a turtle without a shell, but this was quickly debunked because a turtle's shell is fused with its spine, and the creature's spine was still intact. Turtles also don't have fur or teeth, which this creature definitely did have. Another thought was that maybe it was a dog or coyote that had some kind of a disease and had been in the sea for a while. A paleozoologist studied the photograph and came to the conclusion that the creature was a raccoon. He said that the shape and size of the creature and its paws were identical to that of a raccoon. It seems like this might be the most reasonable guess because 2 years after the creature was discovered, there were rumors that a dead animal had been given a Viking funeral. It was burned and then sent off on the ocean in flames. After this rumor came out, a local said they found a dead raccoon on a nearby island a month before the Montauk Monster was found. So maybe the monster was actually a dead raccoon that had been disfigured by fire and water. What does the creature look like to you? Do you think it's a raccoon, or do you think it's the result of a science experiment, or even some strange new animal species? Let me know down in the comments. That wraps up the stories for this episode. Pretty strange discoveries, right? I found plenty of other stories while I was throwing this video together, so I'll probably have a part 2 in the future. I appreciate you joining me today, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can join me for more crazy and true stories. Also, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't keep it a secret. Share it with someone you think would find it interesting. Until next time, have fun and stay safe.